Hello and welcome. You're watching the biggest story tonight with me, Shavan Sen. Last evening, we got you the Tukre gang files. That was just part one. And we did tell you that it's just the tip of the iceberg. That it was not an organic protest, that there was large-scale violence that took place, and all of it was completely pre-planned. Their own people had exposed Umar Khalid. Tonight, we are getting you part two of that Tukre gang files. We're getting to you the protected witnesses, their statements that have been recorded before the magistrate. 164 statements that were recorded. What is important to point out here is that the Delhi police has recorded a record number of 57 magisterial statements, which only exposes the role of Umar Khalid. We told you that this wasn't an organic protest, and there is proof that we are putting out tonight. At least 5 statements, ladies and gentlemen, that we are going to present before you tonight, which is going to make it abundantly clear that the mastermind of the Delhi riots was none other than Umar Khalid and his entire gang, which includes Sharjeel Imam, Asif Tanha, and various others. But the brainchild of this entire riots was none other than Umar Khalid and his entire gang. And the planning started way back. We'll begin with that first big statement, and this statement has been recorded under section 164. We'll also be joined by my colleague and our senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor, who's going to break it down for our viewers. What does these protected witnesses statements essentially mean, and how does this bring out the role of Umar Khalid? Let's take a look at statement number 1. This is also a statement that has been recorded under section 164, not revealing the name of the protected witness. We're just quoting the statement of one of the witnesses. Statement number 1, we are calling it, in which, and this is in Hindi, we're going to also translate it for all our viewers. One of the witnesses says, उस रूम में उमर खालिद ने बोला गुल से कि भाषण से कोई काम नहीं चलेगा, ये समझो कि सरकार मुसलमानों के खिलाफ है, खून बहाना पड़ेगा, ऐसा नहीं चलेगा, चक्का जाम ही आखिरी रास्ता है. That's statement number 1 that we are putting out for you viewers. Let's take you through the other witnesses, other statements also. We're also bringing in our cameras right now to just take you through some of the statements that have been recorded. These are all recorded before the magistrate. This is not before a police. So what happens in a 164 statement? It is only the witness and the magistrate who's inside the room. Not a single other person is allowed to be when this statement is recorded. So I'll also go across to Abhishek Kapoor and Piyush, who's joining us. But before I bring them in, let me just show our viewers a copy of the statement that we have with us. Take a look at this. We're just putting this out right now. Take a look at this statement, in which once again I'm repeating that statement number 1 says उस रूम में उमर खालिद ने बोला गुल से कि भाषण से कोई काम नहीं चलेगा, ये समझो कि सरकार मुसलमानों के खिलाफ है, खून बहाना पड़ेगा, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा, चक्का जाम ही आखिरी रास्ता है. Take a look at statement number 2. This is statement number 2, in which they said, इस मीटिंग उमर खालिद ने ये बताया प्रोटेस्ट्स के बाद चक्का जाम करना होगा, ये चक्का जाम हमें जहां हिंदुओं की आबादी अधिक हो वहां करना होगा, चक्का जाम के बाद जैसे ही वहां हिंदू चारों तरफ से घिर जाएंगे तो वहां तुरंत पथराव कर देंगे जिससे दंगे भड़क जाएंगे. उमर खालिद ने गुलफिशा, तस्लीम और सुहेल से को कहा कि वो लोगों को एसिड, कांच की खाली बोतल, पत्थर, डंडे, चिली पाउडर आदि अभी से इकट्ठा करने का कहा ताकि दंगे के समय इस्तेमाल किया जा सके. फिर उमर खालिद ने कहा चक्का जाम का टाइम आप लोगों को बता दिया जाएगा. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 statements that we are putting up. We'll go through the other 3 more statements in a short while from now, but this becomes abundantly clear. This is nothing about just a protest that was supposed to take place because they wanted to protest against the CAA and the NRC. It was way beyond that. These statements makes it abundantly clear that they wanted large-scale violence to take place in the national capital. 20 to 22 protest sites were identified by Nadeem Khan and Umar Khalid. Let me bring in my colleague Piyush and our senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor is also going to join us. I'll request our producers to also bring in Abhishek to break it down for us. What does this essentially mean? Now, Piyush, these are exclusive statements that have now been accessed by Republic TV, which makes it abundantly clear that Umar Khalid happens to be the mastermind of the riots that took place in the national capital back in 2020, in February 2020. Part 1 clearly indicated that the planning started almost a month ago. Part 2 of our expose now shows that not only protests, they had much more in their minds.
Well, certainly, Shavan, they had much more in mind, and that is why we also know as to how the roads were blocked. Umar Khalid was, in fact, according to the information which we have accessed, it can now clearly be said that Umar Khalid was the mastermind of the kind of destruction which took place in Delhi, the riots which took place in Delhi, because like you are yourself telling us, Shavan, as to how Umar Khalid, was planning everything, and these statements certainly telling us how, it was being said that खून बहाना जरूरी है, ये सरकार मुसलमानों के खिलाफ है. So how the planning was done a month before. In fact, not only a month before, Umar Khalid was planning to carry out a destruction in national capital a few years back. Remember that in 2019 we had reported, Shavan, how he had formed an organization, Muslim students of JNU. He had called people from Aligarh, Kashmiri students from Aligarh, and then without seeking permissions, multiple events were floated in JNU, and from the organizers also no permission was sought, forged signatures were made, and if we talk about the protests those took place in Shaheen Bagh and in JNU, his close aide Sharjeel Imam was told to do so. In fact, Sharjeel Imam was also asked to go and hold meetings with few masjid committees. What we are also accessing is that multiple CCTV cameras were also blocked. So again, planning in advance had been done as far as this entire case is concerned. We'll have to wait and watch what is further going to take place. But yes, the role of Umar Khalid has now been completely exposed in this entire case. We are also getting to know is that a few more startling details are going to come out in coming few days. But this somewhere suggests as to how Umar Khalid was the mastermind of the riots which took place in national capital. Before I toss it back to you, Shavan, let me also tell you as to how the court has taken note of each and everything and has mentioned as to how the intention was just to carry out destruction in northeast area of Delhi.
Well, in fact, Piyush, there is much more to what we are bringing out right now. Let's also move in to the other statements that we have accessed. In fact, Abhishek, we are on statement number 3. Perhaps you could also put this into perspective, but let me just quickly take our viewers through the statement which has been recorded in Hindi, statement under section 164, the importance of it, all of that will come to it in a short while from now. Abhishek, I'll just read out first the statement that has been recorded in Hindi, and then you can perhaps put this out in perspective. 3 more statements to go. We're reading out statement number 3. Once again, a protected witness, and this is what they say. इस पर सैफुल इस्लाम ने कहा कि उसकी भी उमर खालिद और नदीम खान से बात हो गई है और उन्होंने वही कहा है जो आसिफ इकबाल तन्हा कह रहे थे. साथ ही साथ उसने ये भी कहा कि दंगे में बम और गोलियां चल सकते हैं, इसीलिए तुम लोग टाइम रहते वहां से निकल जाना. What does this essentially mean? A warning that is given to those who are participating in the protest that there could be a possibility of bombs to be hurled, gunshots to be fired, and that is the reason why a warning was given to them that they should leave the place before this begins. Abhishek, over to you. Put this into perspective. We said this was not organic. Tonight, we are bringing to our viewers statements, protected witness statements, and they've admitted before a magistrate that they had larger intentions, making it a full bloodied riot.
I mean, it could not have been more conclusive than that, Shawan, when it comes to the conspiracy of Delhi riots. if this is really true, this is obviously prosecution version and presented before the court, and the court is going to take a call sometime in November. What is important is that we have been talking about this for a while, be it the exclusive expose on Sharjeel Imam, where he admitted that there was plan, in fact, to lead to violence, be it the manner in which the entire logistics plan was unraveled when we were covering those protests in Delhi, and the scale of the violence, the scale and number of sites, everything is coming out clearly in this. And now what you are bringing out is the most diabolical part of the plan, where there was absolute meticulous planning of the violence as well, of the scale of violence, and it falls apiece. Yesterday you brought those documents which showed that CCTV cameras were broken or reoriented to make sure that those rioters and those indulging in violence and arson, they are not captured for evidence gathering by the police. And then the WhatsApp exchanges, the formation of groups, and now this conversation. I hope, Shawan, that there is electronic evidence available which can back up these texts and these conversations, and these are not just transcripts. If that electronic evidence is there, then obviously, so far as these rioters and these accused are concerned, they're going to have tough time in the court. And again, this really brings under the lens, under focus, the kind of conspiracy that was there to malign, just out of, hate for Narendra Modi and his government, malign and sully the image of India abroad. Remember, these riots happened when US President Donald Trump with his entire entourage was on his one and only India visit. And for these rioters and these protesters who had been sitting in for more than a couple of months to time the violence and trigger it at the time when Trump was here in India, that clearly shows that the designs were dangerous, and possibly there is an element, Shawan, maybe you can bring that also sometime, of these rioters, these conspirators, these arsonists working in tandem with forces inimical to the unity and territorial integrity of India, be it Sharjeel Imam, be it Umar Khalid, the stuff that is coming out now by way of these court documents, or actually prosecution documents presented to court, it's clear that this is not ending anytime soon. These investigations would go on. There would be links that would need to be unraveled and ultimately go to the real forces behind these actions. Remember, the diabolical plan was to cause communal strife in the country, create a law and order situation, and play the long game. As Sharjeel Imam had said, choke India at crucial places like the chicken's neck. So I think, Shawan, that's fantastic set of documents you got, which clearly show that the Delhi riots were a planned conspiracy by a handful who are now facing the heat of the law.
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek. In fact, a very pertinent point that has been raised by Abhishek with regards to whether at all the prosecution has the electronic evidences, the presence of Umar Khalid at those protest sites, and the very fact that they are saying, in fact, one particular part that we're going to put out right now, statement number 4, Abhishek, is going to make it abundantly clear that Umar Khalid himself did not want to be present because he perhaps wanted to keep this as a mystery as to who's really running the show. Statement number 4 is going to expose that. We do not have enough time, or else we could have also put out the very fact that there was live broadcast, live reporting of what was actually happening at Silampur and Jafrabad by one person to Umar Khalid. They were putting out minute by minute updates. But let's now move to statement number 4 and statement number 5. Thank you very much, Abhishek. I'll also go across to Piyush. Let's take a look at this. Cut across to this statement, statement number 4. Once again, a 164 statement in which they say, and I'm just putting this out in Hindi, and then perhaps Piyush can also put this into perspective, in which they say, Amanullah ne bataya ki 23rd February ke साजिश के तहत उमर खालिद दिल्ली में नहीं रहेंगे और प्रोटेस्ट की जिम्मेदारी जेसीसी के पास रहेगी ताकि उमर खालिद पर डाउट ना हो. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm repeating this. 23rd of February is when the riots broke out. Here, Amanullah is the other character. He's making an admission that on 23rd of February, as per the conspiracy, Umar Khalid दिल्ली में नहीं रहेगा और प्रोटेस्ट की जिम्मेदारी JCC, दैट इज द जामिया कोऑर्डिनेशन कमेटी, के पास रहेगी ताकि उमर खालिद पर डाउट ना हो. दैट्स the statement number 4 that we were talking about. Let's also quickly go across to statement number 5, and then I'll bring in Piyush right now. Take a look at this. This is the statement number 5, once again under section 164. And I'm reading this out. I'll request our producers to just stay with this image right now of the document. Protest sites की जगह नदीम खान और उमर खालिद तय करते हैं. लगभग 20-22 प्रोटेस्ट साइट्स इन्होंने बनवाए. अमेरिका राष्ट्रपति के दिल्ली दौरे पर जो दंगे हुए उसके जिम्मेदार उमर खालिद, अमनुल्लाह, JCC और दूसरे ग्रुप्स हैं. 2 more statements we are bringing out to you, a total of 5 statements that we have brought to you, which makes it very, very clear that this was completely pre-planned and it was Umar Khalid. Let me bring in Piyush right now. Piyush, a quick word from you with regards to two more statements that we have. In fact, I'll just stay on right now with those documents till the time we get Piyush back on the live, getting us more details. If you can take a look at it, a total of 5 statements makes it abundantly clear what's the reality of this particular conspiracy. Entire conspiracy that was hatched by none other than Umar Khalid. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you once again that it was almost a month before. First phase of the riots took place between 13th and the 16th of December, which had failed miserably. And the reason essentially being, and there is an admission of this, that largely men participated in the riots that took place on 13th to 16th of December. That is the reason why in the second phase of riot, they essentially decided that women would be at the forefront, because they essentially realized that the police perhaps will not be very harsh on women protesters. But there was a diabolical plan in place.